everyone, and welcome back to more Umineko When They Cry. And I have an announcement to make. We just reached 50 subs just the other day. I chose now to announce it because I realised that most of my subscribers watch Umineko, at least I think that's how it is. So yeah, 50 subs. I'm pretty happy about it. Thank you so much, guys. And I might do a special video, but it probably won't be for a little while because it's quite a busy time of year, what with Christmas and stuff. And in the vein of Christmas, if you guys have any ideas of special visual novels that aren't Sakura Santa, that have Christmassy themes or are Christmas based, then if you leave them in the comments below, I might play some for the festive season, who knows. But anyway, back on Umineko. So in the last episode, I believe Jessica and Natsuhi had a rather lovely mother-daughter chat, and it was all wonderful, and they actually seemed kind of close for all of 5 seconds, even though apparently Jessica hates her mum. But it was all rather lovely, and even more importantly, we found out that the witch's gold does actually exist, which is quite a shock, to be honest. So that means that Kraus is in a particularly bad position, because if anybody else finds the gold, he could lose his entitlement to be the next head. So we are now here with George, and I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen now. I think it's going to be Battler as well, so we'll see. And there's good old Battler. George, Nikki and I were killing time in front of the parlour television. At that point, Jessica returned. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she'd calmed down a little since we'd last seen her. Poor Maria's probably had a pretty rough night, to be honest. Looking at the clock, I saw it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were planning to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to our room. As we were talking about this, Aunt Rosa came into the parlour. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria. It's nice to see that Rosa's in a little bit of a better mood. I'd feel kind of bad about that though, because Natsuhi went to all of the trouble to make sure that they would be able to stay in the mansion, and they're just like, nah. Behind those words, she seemed to be concealing some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings. Good old George. See, I knew. As we said this, Aunt Rosa smiled, looking truly happy.
私たちの話し合いはだいぶ遅くまでかかりそう。だから申し訳ないけどマリアをみんなにお願いするわ。
おいマリア、熟睡か？
Don't wake her up, that's rude.
ゲストハウスに戻るぞ。
Maria muttered something indistinct, rolled over and fell back asleep. It looked like she was sleeping deeply.
すっかり寝込んじゃったようだぜ。起こすのは悪いな。
うん、僕が背負うよ。
I'd say it probably wouldn't be a very good idea to take her back out in the rain because she's probably going to catch a cold from standing out there for hours previously. Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. I lifted her up and put her on George Aniki's back. It was raining hard outside and Aniki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. It looked like Aunt Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Krause's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return. After we left the hall on the way to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shannon-chan stepped out.
だいぶ暗くなっておりますので、私がご案内させていただきます。
ちょうどよかったわ、シャノンちゃん。ジョージ君がマリアをおぶっていってくれるの。傘をさしてあげてくれないかしら。
はい、かしこまりました。
Shannon-chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
兄貴、俺がそうぜ。
大丈夫だよ。マリアちゃんくらい背負えるよ。
本当にありがとうね。マリアをよろしくお願い。
わかりました。じゃあ、おやすみなさい、おばさん。それでは、お送りしてまいります。
Aunt Rosa watched us leave. Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor any of the kids, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house.
俺がマリアを背負って立候補すりゃよかったぜ。
Wow, Battler. I hardly think now is the appropriate time.
そんなつもりじゃないよ。誤解だよ。
そうしないと、ジョージ様が生まれてしまうと思いました。
Yeah, Shannon, we all know how you feel about George.
ほら、バカなこと言ってないで入るぜ。
After being urged on by Jessica, we folded up our umbrellas and went into the guest house.
お召し物を濡らしてしまった方はいらっしゃいませんか？タオルを用意いたしますが。
そこまで気を使わなくていいぜ。ありがとうよ、シャノンちゃん。
そうだ。僕たちはこれからトランプでもして少し遊ばないかって話なんだけど、よかったら。
あれ？今日のシェフ、深夜便は誰になってんだ？親族会議中は特別シフトになってたと思いました。少し変更も出てるみたいなので、ちょっと確認してきます。
ああ、わざわざ屋敷に戻らないとわからないんなら無理に。
大丈夫です。ゲストハウスの使用人室でわかりますので。ちょっと失礼しますね。
Shannon-chan gave a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin's room and decided to put Maria to bed for the time being. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. For now, we'd get some soft drinks out of the room's refrigerator and drink those while playing cards or something. Oh, Canon-kun is here.
源氏様までこちらに。今夜のシフトはどうなっているのでしょうか。
クラウス様の命令があってね。シフトの大掛かりな変更があったんだよ。
ローラがお屋敷の新薬の変更に。シャノンとカノンはゲストハウスの新薬。
Okay, well, I doubt the cousins would tell on her if she didn't wait on them hand and foot, so.
私とクマさんはゲストハウスに泊まるように。お前も今夜はこのままこちらにとどまる。だって電話が。
ずいぶん大掛かりな変更ですね。お屋敷とゲストハウスの当番がまるっきり逆になってるじゃないですか。
Originally, Shannon and Canon had been assigned to the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all of the relatives were staying, had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience in entertaining. Kumasawa should have been sleeping at the guest house, while Genji should have been sleeping in the mansion. However, it seemed that Kraus had suddenly ordered that the schedule be modified. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house.
ベアトリーチ様の手紙のせいだろうね。
多分どうして？
あんな怪しげな手紙が現れたらクラウス様が僕たちを疑うのは当然だからね。親方様直属の僕たちを極力親族会議の席から遠ざけたかったんだろうよ。
Well, Canon was giving Kinzo details about what they were talking about. Genji, Shannon and Canon were all permitted to wear the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as the servants who served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushiromiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo held the right to employ them, even Kraus could not have them dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, Kraus and the others often viewed these servants as Kinzo's underlings and shunned them. And in fact, Kinzo seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. This sudden shift change was probably a clear expression of the sense of mistrust that had caused. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance came up. On top of that, the mysterious letter that claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. I'm guessing that Kraus doesn't want them there just in case they somehow find the gold that he had stashed, the one ingot. Kraus definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion.
ではすまん。私は向こうにくつろがせた。もし何かあったらすぐに言うよ。
Oh. So does that mean they are expecting a 19th guest?
はい、かしこまりました、源氏様。
Genji nodded back, went behind a screen, took off his jacket and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension.
今お戻りになられたのは起こさなかった。
親族の方々はお屋敷で会議を。だいぶ長引きそうな雰囲気だったかな。
なら気楽だね。これ以上の深夜になってしかもこの天気。多分親族の皆さんはお屋敷の方のお部屋にお泊まりさ。
多分ね。源氏様がいないからいいけど、ゲストハウス行きになってちょっと嬉しかったかな。
してね。意地悪な奥さんがヨガ様から離れられたから。
Canon really doesn't like anyone from any of the adults, at least. I guess they don't treat him very nicely, to be fair.
それでも別の理由があるのかい？
別の理由なんかありません。
そっか。なら二人で新夜勤を頑張ろう。よろしく、姉さん。
私、ついさっきお子様方にお部屋で遊ばないかとお呼ばれしてて。
Shannon hung her head apologetically, gazing at Canon uncertainly. Canon didn't try to meet her eyes and spoke curtly as he sighed. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister.
ダメだよ。新夜勤面接かってる。
Oh, Canon, don't be mean.
それに僕たち家具は遊びのお誘いは必要ない。わかるね。
Shannon's shoulders drooped slightly. She had already expected that Canon, a stickler for rules, would say something like that, but she still seemed a little discouraged. As Canon flipped through a logbook, he spoke without facing Shannon.
ならお子様方お待たせしてしまってるね。新夜勤に当たってしまったからご一緒できないか謝ってこなきゃ。行ってきなよ。
Wow, he's bossy.
私、謝ってくるね。
Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change and flew out of the servant room after giving a quick bow. So, is he above her? Is he like a supervisor or something? I can't think of any other word to describe it, but it seems like he has more power than she does. As he watched her go, Canon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
私がここにいる。お前の
源氏様、誘われたのはシャノンだけです。僕は別に誘われては。
その場にいなかったらお声をかけられる。お前も誘われる。子供らしく遊んでくる。
いえ、僕には必要ない行為です。人の子には遊びも必要でしょうか。僕らは家具ですから。
When he says human children like that, it almost makes it seem like he isn't human. I wonder if that's the case. I don't really know what direction this story's going to take.
姉さんだって家具です。人のふりをしたんで後で苦しむだけなのに。僕はそれが分かっているから人に近づきたくないだけなんです。
Genji did not say anything after that. After a while, he stood up and used a pot of hot water to make powdered cocoa, serving some to Canon as well.
そりゃ本当かよ。そりゃ知らなかったぜ。
バカ、声が大きいぜ。マリアが起きちゃうだろ。
Battler was so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab and he lowered his voice.
あ、いや、しかし言われてみれば確かにそれっぽい雰囲気はあったんだよな。はあ、なるほどな。ジョージの兄貴がな。
George couldn't be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shannon came into the room, George suddenly said that he'd forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. Shannon said she would guide him just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them departed together.
いや、昔からそれっぽい気配はあったんだぜ。好きなものを聞いてきたり、 趣味を聞いてきたりさ。単に関心を持つだけにしてはどうもなんて思ってたらよ。
そういや、昔から上司の兄貴はシャノンちゃんにやたらと優しかった気がするぜ。
Oh, I knew it. I knew there was something between them.
なるほどな。
It's so cute.
.天気予報によると今夜が一番ひどいみたい。明日いっぱいも止まないらしいけど、もう少しマシになるそうだよ。
そうですか。では明後日までは船は来られないかもしれませんね。ジョージ様の月曜日のお勤めに差し支えが出ないか心配です。
台風が来ていることは知っていたからね。万一に備えて月曜日には予定を入れなかったから大丈夫さ。こう見えてもスケジュールは先読みできるタイプなんだ。
George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the calm appearance George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Oh, I guess Shannon's the only one that sees the real him. Shannon chuckled at this abrupt contrast.
さすが。やがては会社を起こされる方はしっかりしていますね。
やっぱり会社を起こすというのは大変だね。お金とかそういうのだけじゃないものがとても大事。父さんのところで勉強していてわかるよ。うちの父さんは秀吉って名前だけあって戦国武将のエピソードがとても好きでね。会社経営の哲学をよくそこから語るんだ。知ってるかい？戦国最強の騎馬軍団と恐れられた武田信玄も最初は部下たちの結束がバラバラで統率力をまるで発揮できなかったんだそうだよ。
そうなんですか。なんだか意外ですね。
信玄は部下たちを結束させるため数々のリーダーシップを発揮してるんだ。例えば戦場で武功を立てた部下に対しすぐその場で褒章を与えたり、普通こういうのは戦が終わってからまとめてやるものだからね。それを戦場の本陣の中に見ながらまめにやり続け。
So did he just carry around a bunch of medals with him? That seems like it would hinder him a little bit.
部下の武功を素早く評価しやる気につなげたというのは非常に大きいことだよ。それから部下が病気で伏せった時には誰よりも早く駆けつけお見舞いをした。武田信玄は戦国最強の騎馬軍団を率いただけじゃない。戦国一の部下思いの人だったんだよ。
Ah, he sounds like a nice guy.
そんな方だから部下の皆さんもついてきてくれたんですね。
The truth was, Shannon had already heard this story several years ago. But whenever a discussion of his father led to this sort of topic, George would always glow and look like he was having a great time. So Shannon just smiled without interrupting, urging him to continue.
確かに資本主義の世界ではお金は力で石垣の高さでもある。でもね、戦も城も自分一人じゃ成り立たない。大勢の部下に支えられ、その力を借りて初めて成立するものなんだ。それを理解してから父さんの背中を見ると自分がいかに未熟で父さんがどれほどの切磋琢磨をして今日を築き上げてきたかがよくわかるんだ。
ジョージ様はお父様のことをとても尊敬されているんですね。羨ましいです。
あ、ごめん。別にそういう意味で
Oh, they're so cute together.
すみません。私も別にそういう意味で言ったつもりは。
The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shannon had no parents. She had been brought up in an orphanage owned by Kinzo called the Fukuin House. Under the guidance of Kinzo, their honorary director, the orphanage offered members who excelled a chance for on-the-job serving experience. If their efforts met with Kinzo's approval, they'd be able to leave the orphanage and work as servants for the Ushiromiya family. This was considered to be the highest honour for those who lived in the orphanage. Servants from the Fukuin house all took names with the character on in them while they served. So that explains kind of why Canon sees her as a sister when they're not actually. So Shannon wasn't her real name. The same went for Canon. All of the members of the Fukuin house were orphans. At least they were all people who had been separated from their parents under special circumstances. Because of this, the orphans had been taught to think of each other as their only family. That's why it seemed so natural to both of them when Canon called Shannon his sister. And while both Shannon and Canon were working in the mansion today, there were several other servants possessing the On character in their names, such as Manon and Lennon, who often worked in a rotation schedule. However, there were not many servants who stayed with the Ushiromiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years. So you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for 10 years, was a notable exception to the rule. Working as a servant for the Ushiromiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the orphans realised what a harsh task working for the Ushiromiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. Maybe the fact that Shannon managed to continue working for 10 years wasn't because she had more willpower than the other servants. Maybe she'd gotten stuck working for 10 years because she didn't have the courage to say she wanted to quit. Kinzo couldn't even trust his own blood relatives, and those excellent servants sent from the Fukuin house were the only ones he could rely on. Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest, as servants under his direct control, and have them work close to him.
もう勤めて10年近くになるんだっけ。だいぶお金も貯まったんじゃないかい。
どうでしょう。別に私買いたいものも特にありませんし、ほんの何百万かあったってそれで残りの人生を過ごせるわけもありませんし。
目標の
Is that how much she saved?
お勤めを続けてるわけじゃないのかい。
そうですね。私はこのお屋敷以外に行くあてもありませんし、お嬢様とも他の使用人の子たちとも仲良くやれてますし。
I reckon she stays because it means that she gets to see George occasionally.
奥様には時折お叱りを受けますけど、柄の世話やお屋敷のお掃除も楽しいですし。
でもそれはシャノンちゃんのサヨちゃんの人生じゃない。
Ooh, is he using her real name? Shannon cast her eyes downwards when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and fell silent.
僕は成人し社会人になってからも勉強して分かったことがある。子供の頃僕らが思っていたほど人生は単調で短くないんだ。
All school-age kids have certain fears they can't shake. They wonder whether they'll live the rest of their lives like sleepy classes after a monotonous and boring school day, spending their time in a carefree laziness without anything interesting happening until it's all over. However, life's only like that for underage students. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as students is nothing more than a blink of an eye, a period where they can break through the shells of their immaturity. The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating and boring world, but the world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities.
君の人生は まだシャノンという殻の中でしかないんだ。君は自分の人生がこの生活のままずっと続いていくと勘違いしてるんじゃないかな。
それは
Shannon couldn't deny these words. She'd been unable to harbour any clear doubts about her lifestyle, and since she never had any hope or goals for changing herself, she'd lazily continued living the way she always had. And if asked whether this life was satisfying, she wouldn't have been able to nod. She may have been intentionally averting her eyes from the truth. Without George's admonishments, she would have continued pretending not to notice as her real life slipped away bit by bit, neglected.
ジョージ様、私はこのままでいてはいけないのでしょうか。
いけないよ。あ、それから今ルール違反が一つあってね。
George immediately gave a strict answer, then broke out into a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and she hung her head again, apparently embarrassed.
僕たちしかいないときは様はなしの約束だよ。
約束では聞けません。ですが、ご命令でしたら聞かないわけにはいきません。私は家具ですから。
Oh, don't be like that, Shannon.
じゃあ命令だよ。
はい、かしこまりました、ジョージさん。
As Shannon hung her head, her face red, she said George's name again, this time following it with San.
それでいいよ、さやちゃん。
George smiled at Shannon, no, Sayo, to praise her small act of bravery. This short exchange alone made it clear how far back their relationship must have stretched. For a long while, the two talked as if the weather raging about them didn't even enter their thoughts. They talked about the many memories they built during their relationship that no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to interrupt them, but this could sully neither the roses nor the time they spent blushing at each other.
そうだ、君に見せたいものがあって。
なんでしょうか。
George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. Watching him, Shannon seemed to guess something. George timidly searched through his pocket. Something got caught in the depths of his pocket, and just like the stuttering George, it took a little while to get it out. It was a very small box. Oh, George, no! No, that's so cute. A small box covered in a deep blue velvet. But what if he dies? What if she dies? That peculiar shape was enough to tell anyone what was resting inside. Shannon had prepared her heart somewhat, certain beforehand that this was what he'd been planning. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box, took something out and held it out for Shannon to take.
これを君に受け取ってほしいんだ。
このような高価なものは、お受け取りできません。
That's the wrong answer, Shannon.
受け取れない。
いえ、こんな私には過ぎていて。
さよ、これはお願いじゃない。命令だよ。
I'm forcing you to marry me, it's an order.
この指輪を受け取ってね。
従わなくてはなりません。
うん、そうだね。
But would she say that to anyone that proposed her and ordered her to marry them?
いい子だよ。
Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. That ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object, meant since ancient times to be offered to a special woman under special circumstances. Therefore, while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend not on an order, but on Shannon's, no, Sayo's own will.
だからここからはもう命令じゃない。さよ、明日までに言葉でない形で返事がもらいたい。わかるね。
どうすれば
Does he want her to kiss him?
もうこれ以上は命令じゃないから僕は君に命令はしない。でも指輪は指にするものだからね。
Oh, okay, he just wants her to wear it.
気に入ってくれたなら好きな指につけてくれればいい。
Shannon had only pretended not to know. She already understood what he wanted her to do. But she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life.
もうこんな時間だね。今夜はこれくらいにしよう。
George turned away from Shannon, acting just a bit bluntly.
君に左手につけてほしいと命令することもできるかもしれない。君も命令されればそれに従えるという臆病な甘えがあるかもしれない。でも最後のここだけは君のさよの意志でしてもらいたいんだ。わかるね。
はい。
だからそれが命令。今夜よく考えて明日その返事を見せてほしい。
Shannon nodded back. Today was the culmination of their many days spent together. This moment certainly hadn't come as a surprise to Shannon.
そろそろゲストハウスに戻ろうか。これ以上遅いとみんなを心配させちゃうよ。
すみません。私、お屋敷へ行かねばなりません。
こんな時間に本当かな。
George stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. He definitely saw through Shannon's lie. However, when he saw how she felt, he could sort of understand that she might be so embarrassed that she'd want to be alone. So because George realised the meaning behind Shannon's lie, he accepted it. Okay guys, well that was a totally adorable scene there. Oh, I love it so much, but I can't help but feel like something terrible is going to happen and ruin everything, because that's the nature of the person that writes these. Oh, I don't want either of them to die, but I can't help but feel it's going to happen. But, oh well. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. And until next time guys, goodbye!